the Labour government, I don't think, is going to be in a position to deliver anything for India, at least not before the party conference in October. And even then, we'll have to see what the grassroots activists in the Labour Party, who are now emboldened, may put in the way of obstacles in this relationship. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not overly optimistic that we're going to get India's going to get a sort of a priority from the new Labour government.
Mr. Roy-Chaudhury, once again, thank you so much for speaking to Global Compass and StratNewsGlobal.
Thank you, Nilanjana, for inviting me here.
So the last time we talked, I had come to London, I had visited, and we were talking about the huge drubbing that the Tories got in the local elections, and we were speculating that Sunak would not announce the elections too early because he had the whole of the year. And yet he did. The moment UK seemed to come out of recession, there was a 0.6% growth, and immediately on that rain-soaked afternoon, he came out of 10 Downing Street and announced the elections on the 4th of July. And what an election it has been! Wiped out after 14 years, and finally, I think the score is 412 for the Labour Party.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, what a transformation in one single day, and a landslide victory for the Labour Party and the new Labour government taking over from yesterday.
Yes. But it is not going to be easy for Sir Starmer, isn't it? I think he's in a situation where it's a do or die situation, a perform or perish situation, because obviously the people did give the Tories a lot of chances, especially after Brexit. But somehow, I think a lot of things went wrong. The economic policies, the issue of unemployment, NHS, a lot of things went wrong, and I think people got fed up and voted them out. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, people often say here, and yesterday they've been saying that, is this a verdict? Is this a mandate for change for the Labour Party and the Labour government? Or is it really a mandate against the misrule, the misgovernance, and the controversies that the Conservative government had? And I think the truth lies in between. And we see this especially in terms of the vote share. I mean, notwithstanding the huge landslide victory that the Labour Party had yesterday in the number of seats, as you said, the vote share compared to one of the most disastrous elections the Labour Party fought 5 years ago, the vote share only increased by less than 2%.
Yes, right. So I'm glad you brought that up because the rest of Europe seems to be, moving right. And here we also had the Nigel Farage, who also won only 4 seats, but a significantly high vote share. So what does that say about the thinking of the voters?
So I think it indicates two things. One is that the Conservative Party, from an earlier point, the Conservative Party was in meltdown. And, it may well be, we'll find out in the next few weeks and months, that really this was a vote against the Conservative government. The second part, I think, is that there's also a great concern here that the far right, the Reform Party led by Nigel Farage, has won 5 seats, and it has a large share of the votes, 15% compared to just about 34% for the Labour and about 24% for the Conservatives. So the worry here, of course, for the election results was that the Conservative vote share was decreased by the voting for the Reform Party, and the rise of the extreme right in the UK is of concern based on the success or failure of the Labour government. So when we go into elections 5 years from now, we hope that the extreme right does not get a larger vote share in the next elections.
Right. So as I started off by saying, I get this feeling that it's going to be an uphill battle for Sir Starmer, because he has an economy to revive and a host of other issues. Of course, the first thing he said that, now changes will be made. There are going to be changes. What do you think he's actually going to do? I mean, he's talked about it, but does he actually have a plan in place?
So, Nilajana, firstly, you're absolutely right. The mood in London yesterday, I was outside Downing Street, and even this morning, the mood in London is somber. There was no huge party that the Labour Party government had last night, or a parade or a victory parade that it had in 1997 when Tony Blair became Prime Minister after many years. And I think that really is indicative of what, as you said, the UK is going through. For Sir Keir Starmer, it is really okay. Listen, there's no honeymoon period. There is no period to sort of, reflect on the victory. It is really, let's get down to business. And that is the message that he sent to all his ministers when he appointed them yesterday. And ministerial appointments at a junior level will continue for the next 2 days. So the message is somber, it is be effective, result orientated. And there's a huge task for him. Rachel Reeves, the first woman, a shadow chancellor in the UK, has publicly said yesterday that there isn't very much money in the coffers. So I think the first thing is they'll have to take stock of what the Conservative government, after 14 years, has left them. And then there are a host of domestic issues that have to be tackled first. The cost of living crisis, the economic growth, trade relationships, NHS, education. All these things are what the Labour Party manifesto has said needs to be changed. And they have to now start looking at the change. What is the change? To be honest, we're not quite sure yet. When you look at the fine print, you can't quite see where they're going with this. And I think it's understandable. Remember, this is a government and a party that is forming the government after 14 years. Lots of ideas, but they need to be practical. And I think we will see what he means by change in the next few days and weeks.
Talking about the Labour Party itself, of course, his Starmer's predecessor Corbyn was, of course, very, very left, and he ever since Sir Starmer took over, he made it more centrist. Right, he got rid of a lot of he suspended many radical left leaders, and he made it more centrist. However, of course, the Labour Party is known to be liberal, democratic, and left leaning. So, in terms of issues like, say, for instance, the illegal immigrant issue, the Rwanda bill, that do you think there will be, will he bring it back? Is he going to continue? These are very important strategic issues, in fact, international issues. How do you think he will handle this issue of illegal immigrants?
So again, this is a hugely sensitive issue for the Labour government now. I mean, I think there is a general feeling within the population in the UK, whether it is Tory or Labour, that there needs to be a crackdown on illegal immigration. I mean, I think that's a consensus, and so I don't see the Labour government going against this consensus. On the Rwanda issue, it has gone through the courts. The decisions have been taken. Now, will he be in a position to reverse this? I'm not sure. But if the Labour government if they are thinking of it, they'll need to provide an alternative, because you can't just say, okay, this the flight to Rwanda, which still hasn't taken off. There's been no first flight as yet. You can't say that, well, we're going to stop it and there's nothing in place. Now, to get something in place in the next few weeks, when the first flight is supposed to take off, is not going to be possible. So I would suspect that in terms of illegal immigration, I would not see much of a change in practical terms between the policies the Tory government have put in place, such as the Rwanda flight, and the Labour government. My sense is that there is clearly consensus, even within the Labour government, that illegal immigration must be decreased.
Yeah, the boats must be stopped, as it were.
So I
Right.
think in terms of the narrative and the optics, it will not be as harsh as the boats must be stopped. That it will not be. But I think in terms of the actual deliverables, they may be very similar.
All right, all right. Again, talking about international issues, Jeremy Corbyn was very, very anti-Israel. He was also accused of being, I mean, anti-Semitic. But how do you think Sir Starmer is going to handle the issue of Palestine?
So again, you're spot on that when Sir Keir Starmer talks about changing the Labour Party and change in that sense internally for the party, he basically means to change the what was perceived as a very strong anti-Semitic aspect within the Labour Party. And I think for most observers, this is the Labour Party has now changed definitely. I mean, I voted. As a Commonwealth citizen, I voted in my constituency in Finchley, in North London, and for the first time in years, this constituency changed from Conservative to Labour, and the Labour MP is a woman called Sarah Sackman, who again had faced some of the anti-Semitism aspects. So I think on the anti-Semitic issue, Sir Keir Starmer has been very strong, very tough. But remember, Jeremy Corbyn is going to be a member of the new parliament. He was elected from London as an independent. So he hasn't gone away, but definitely his influence and impact in the Labour Party, I would agree, is no longer there.
Okay, okay. So, of course, Starmer has said that he will continue to support Ukraine, but I think what he does, regarding the two-state theory, and the fact that he thinks that Palestine should be a separate state, I think we'll have to wait and watch how that plays out over the next few months.
Absolutely. I mean, there were four, I think three or four independent members of parliament elected, who were elected on the basis largely of the Palestine issue, very supportive to what is happening in Gaza. Now, these are people and the constituencies who voted against the Labour candidate to bring in the independents, because they felt that the Labour Party's policies towards Israel, Palestine, and what is happening in Gaza was not strong enough.
Right, right. Let's move towards India now. Um, Starmer seems to be very keen to start trade. He has definitely said in his manifesto that the FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, will go on. How quickly do you see things happening, especially when it comes to individual sectors and when it comes to the FTA between India and the United Kingdom?
So let me just put this in some context, and to my mind, there's no question that India will continue to be important for the Labour government. But the question I have is really how important will India be to the Labour government? And the reason I ask this question is that it's very clear in four areas India's importance will continue, whether it is in terms of trade issues. India is the fifth largest economy in the world, well on its way to becoming the third largest economy in the next 3 or 4 years. In terms of India's foreign policy and influence and global profile, clearly, the Labour government will want to deal with India. In terms of free trade agreement, you mentioned, of course, that's again an important aspect. And also in terms of India's military capability in the Indo-Pacific region. That's again something that is very useful. And finally, on the diaspora, 1.5 million British Indians. So, for these four reasons, India will continue to be important to the Labour government. But the question really is how important will it be? And the reason I ask this is because for the Labour government, we still don't know what its foreign policy orientation will be. Will it be a Euro Atlantic focus in terms of theaters in relation to the Indo Pacific? Will there be more focus on Ukraine, Russia, what is happening in the United States than the Indo Pacific? If that is the case, then where does India sit in this mix? Will India be the top priority for the UK government, as it was for the Conservative government in the past? Or will it be among other countries such as Japan and South Korea? The third point is on the strategic partnership. There is a roadmap, a 10-year roadmap. There is a comprehensive strategic partnership. The Labour Party has talked about a new strategic partnership. We honestly don't know what that means. Will it be a continuation of the roadmap? Will it be a roadmap 2.0, or will it not be? So, the priority that the Labour government will give India still has to be set. And the free trade agreement comes within that context. My sense is that the rhetoric is now over, and the hard reality will start biting. The Labour government, I don't think, is going to be in a position to deliver anything for India, at least not before the party conference in October. And even then, we'll have to see what the grassroots activists in the Labour Party, who are now emboldened, may put in the way of obstacles in this relationship. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not overly optimistic that we're going to get India's going to get a sort of a priority from the new Labour government.
Right, thank you. That was very interesting. So I think we'll have to wait till November to see if Diwali is being celebrated on 10 Downing Street, and also elections in the United States. We were just discussing last time I was there in your office that 2024 is indeed very interesting. And then I mean Indian elections have happened, now UK elections have happened, and next later in the year is US. So I think that's really something we'll look forward. And I think even the results of the US elections will also have an impact in what we just talked about, Indo UK relations as well. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. I mean, if most people in the UK believe that Trump will return, and again, as you were saying earlier, again, a sort of more center right, government coming in. And what happens with the India-US relationship will determine, to some extent at least, the India-UK relationship, because it'll also determine the US-UK relationship. And it's not quite, I mean, the Labour government will have, I think, a qualitatively different relationship with the Trump administration than the Conservative government had.
Right, absolutely. And of course, they've come back to power after 14 years and they have lots to do, and definitely perform or perish situation given the state of the economy. So lots of hard work and lots of tough decisions ahead for Prime Minister Starmer. But Mr. Roy Chaudhury, thank you so much for taking out the time for me once again and for speaking to Global Compass and Strat News Global. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilanjana. Welcome.